Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I'm Ashley Giordano, Senior Editor of Overland Journal and Expedition Portal. And today I'm in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, talking with Luai Alsheheli, who is the owner of a 4x4 shop in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia called 4-Wheel Station. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Thank you for having me.
One of the coolest things about overlanding is being able to meet 4x4 shop owners along the way. We've visited 4x4 shops in Latin America, and it's always a really cool experience. So I'm really excited to be at your shop today.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Yay!
And a special thanks to this week's sponsor, Black Series Trailers. Have you seen how much more it's going to cost you to go RVing this spring? With gas prices skyrocketing, those overlanding adventures may seem like they're going to be a lot shorter, or maybe even going out the window. Or are they? Our April sale will have you fueled up and ready to roll because Black Series has a high-ticket gas card for you. All you need to do is purchase a Black Series RV between the 10th and the 20th of April, and we'll give you a gas card valued up to $3,000. Want to learn more? Visit our website at blackseries.net.
How did you get into this
For
scene?
four-wheeling, you mean? Or
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess as a kid, I just loved four-wheel drive vehicles. I like to check them out and just look at their capabilities, what they can do. So I really liked that. And then as I grew up, it just kind of grew with me, and I just enjoyed checking it out and being part of it. So yeah.
And was that here in Riyadh, or where were you seeing these vehicles that were so inspiring?
Yeah, I guess mostly going to be here in Saudi.
Okay.
And then of course when I moved to the U.S., for school, I enjoyed a lot of the scene, the 4x4 scene, the things that are done there. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice. So what made you decide to move to the U.S. to attend school?
Right. So I did my, I was born in the U.S. And then, I did my middle school, high school in Saudi, and then I moved back for my bachelor's degree. So I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what that was about. And then, I spent extra time there, just hanging out and enjoying basically my time there. And then I moved back here, and I brought some of the vehicles back with me, and there wasn't any four-wheel drive shops here that are doing what we're doing right now. So that kind of spiked an idea, and slowly it is what it is today. So
Cool.
yeah.
What were the vehicles that you brought back with you?
I had 2 Jeeps with me in the U.S., so I just pretty much put them on a boat and sent them here.
Nice.
And so when I got them here, I just wasn't sure what, if I wanted to get some upgrades done to them or, fix them up or anything like that. So, yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of Jeeps in Saudi. I've seen some for sure, which is kind of surprising. So what happened to those Jeeps after you brought them over here?
So, yeah, of course I still use them, but they're not really a big, the Jeep market isn't really that big here.
Right.
Part of that is because of, part of it is logistics, the culture. It is definitely growing right now. But when I did bring my vehicles, it wasn't that big as it is today. So, it's, it's just slowly it started to grow a little bit, and we started bringing parts for them, and, people love to use them, I guess. So,
Nice.
yeah.
So you came back to Saudi,
Mm-hmm.
and you had this idea
Right.
to open up a 4x4 shop.
Right.
Because there wasn't one here.
Right, of course, yeah.
And what did that look like, that process?
So, yeah, it wasn't at all that easy. It took a lot of effort. First, the effort of trying to open a business is one thing, and then trying to convince the customers that you actually, may want to consider this if you're that type of person who needs this type of product. And, that kind of started to grow. And then, of course, as the business evolved, we started to look at what do people need. The needs are, of course, changing. So we started to move a little bit away of vehicles that are built just for the weekends. now we're talking about vehicles that are being used for, a few weeks type of trips to some people that are actually traveling the world. So we're building those vehicles for them, and we're learning, of course, from their feedbacks, and that helps us make partnerships with suppliers to get the right type of parts. So.
So how did those builds change from the beginning till now? You were talking about more kind of like weekend trips, and then
so
morphed into longer term trips.
Right. So we would typically build like vehicles that would do, like they'd want to go like on a sand dune type of trip or anything like that, to vehicles that would, do, expeditions or, anything like long distance or long type of trips. So the choices of products or gear would vary very heavily from those type of vehicles that are just going for like dune bashing or anything like that, to vehicles that are trying to sustain, make sure the vehicle is safe, their gear is in good shape, and of course it's serving them along the way. So that really did change a lot of what we've offered in the past and what we're offering today. Mm-hmm. So and then you've got things that are unique to this market that are not, of course, maybe an important thing in other markets. For example, we were discussing this earlier, but the water tank situation. So that is something that we typically see as like something that we typically try to build a vehicle to integrate, and then it's typically something that we normally have to have in every vehicle, at least like 60 liters of water. Jerry cans definitely do a great job in that, but if it's integrated, it's normally a lot easier to deal with. And then we typically have like some kind of gauges to, just give us an idea about, consumption and all of that. So.
And is it because, in Saudi, the vast majority of the country is desert, and because of the high temperatures, is that the importance of water, or is there something else?
No, so it's a lot of things. Our diet relies on water a lot. So the food that we make uses a lot of water. People are praying 5 times a day. They have to use water for that. And then, just your hygiene, of course, you need water. And then there's not a lot of water places to get water from, outside of course, small villages and towns. So because of that, you need to carry a little bit more capacity. And it really just boils down to how long you want to stay off the grid, basically. So that is something that, it's something that you just have to factor in as far as building the vehicle and getting the right gear for it. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Were there things in the U.S. that, I guess, influenced the way that you build vehicles here now? Or is it a blend of what you see here and what you see in the U.S. or Africa or Australia?
Yeah, I mean, I typically find myself in my free time looking at what other, markets and what other people. Scott Brady specifically is a big part of the influence when it comes to that. I really think about what he says a lot as far as how he, builds his vehicles and when he talks about them, and the things that are important. And if you just try to reflect that on the things that you're doing on your personal vehicle, I think it really does boil down to, looking at other experiences, trying to figure out what experiences may work for what you're trying to do, and then building vehicles from that. So going back to that original question, yes, we do a mix of both. We definitely started with a lot of the American products, American way of doing things, and then slowly as we started to evolve, we started to understand that some things may not work as well in this market versus other places. So typically, like we just mentioned with the water tank thing, that's typically something you wouldn't, may see a lot of in the U.S. versus vehicles here. Almost every vehicle in the shop has, a water tank of some sort. So
right. We were talking also about the differences culturally between traveling or overlanding or weekend tripping in Saudi versus North America.
Right.
And you were talking about one thing that I thought was really cool about how if you're traveling in a group, the way that each vehicle in the group is set up is sometimes a bit different. Yeah.
So here, it's just the culture now starts to play a role. So meals are normally shared. You're not having people just bring their own food and they're eating on the side or something like that. Or typically you'll see everybody always eating together, to the point where if somebody's having, they're just sleeping extra time, they'd wait for him to wake up or wake him up so that everybody can share the same meal. So that translates in gear being in the vehicle. It's not sometimes very clear on who's bringing what, but typically somebody with a pickup would have a lot of those, gear and stuff like that, and they would typically share, their gear together. So that's typically how it normally works. It's changing a little bit right now, but it is still. I think it's always going to be some way like that. So.
What are some other cultural differences that you see impacting this type of travel?
I don't think really there's a lot. I mean, maybe like the tents. Some people would like to sleep in like a 3-post tent, so there's like a lot of people in the same tent.
Yeah.
That is something that is, you don't see it a lot these days. I think a lot of people are now with like social media and everything. I think people are starting to see everybody wants to have their own tents. But that aspect is still there. But like I said, like with sharing meals and things like that, so a lot of the cookware, it's normally geared towards a bigger group. So you typically have like, you're feeding like 7 to 13, 15 people, sometimes even more. It just depends. You don't typically see people, moving in groups of like 2 or 3. Normally it's a minimum of 10 plus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so typically it is normally like that. It's just because they're trying to have a great time away from work and all that. So
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, from that aspect, it's definitely a little bit, a little bit different. So yeah,
Neat. That's awesome.
yeah,
So along with some of the cultural differences in terms of travel, there are some vehicle differences that we've noticed in this shop as well.
yeah.
I guess maybe do a little short rundown on what is in the shop right now.
So
I
we've
know
got,
there's
yeah,
a few things going on. But
right. So we've got an HDJ 80 series. So that would have one HDFT motor. We've got, I think, 2 of those. We've got an Xterra that's getting electrical work. We've got Land Cruisers. We've got 79s, double cab, single cabs. They're all the V8 diesel motors. We've got an AEV Brute. We've got a 105. We've got a 60 series. We've got 2 110 Defenders and a 73, a Jeep TJ. That's what I think we have. And then, of course, we've got a D200 Dodge in the shop. So, yeah. And then we've got a few parked outside right now. So
yeah,
don't steal our trucks. So, yeah. So we've got an FJ40 outside that's got a 1FZ engine in it. And so we've got, what else do we have outside? I think we've got a JL. Oh, yeah, that's right. See, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so that one is it's an AEV. It's a 3500 chassis cab, tray bed. It's got the 4-wheel campers, and it just arrived from the U.S. just a few weeks ago, and we're just going through the process of getting it registered and getting it roadworthy right now. So.
What does that process look like when you're bringing a vehicle over from another country?
Yeah, so
especially now.
Right. These vehicles specifically, because they were never imported through the dealerships, so it's a little bit difficult trying to get it. That's actually why it's taking so long. But typically it take like 2 or 3 days at most to get it plated and everything.
Right.
So yeah.
Nice. And then what types of clients do you have? Is there like a typical client, or is it all over the map?
No, it's all over the place, honestly.
Yeah.
The bigger builds normally, it's either a company that's trying to get it, like a media company, for example. They'd want a vehicle that is, maybe like built a little bit to haul more gear, for example, or like electrical stuff like that.
Oh,
But
okay.
we get a lot, and then we've got also since 2018 we've had a lot of ladies come in the shop too to get their vehicles built. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
So,
women
We're not allowed to drive, now they are.
Gotcha.
So a lot of them are getting their vehicles built. So you'll have a mom who would come in with her kids, and she'd want to just try to understand what works and what doesn't. So we typically send them back out without anything, just to get them to try out, their vehicles and try to understand what they actually need, and then they'd come back again to get their vehicles built. So, that's normally how it goes. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
that comes up.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that is maybe. Yeah, I think that's yours.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
No problem. So.
Where were we? We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So you're talking about women being able to drive and
Mm-hmm.
coming in here. Are they looking for accessories, or are they looking for
Both.
things to be done? Okay.
Both. So typically with like wheels, tires, things like that, we really couldn't help a lot in that term because it normally boils down to taste. But when it comes to functionalities and things like that, we try to as much as we can help with what we know, of course. But with families, it's normally from what we've seen, their travels are not as aggressive, of course. So they typically spend time around the city, normally maybe 2 or 3 days out to camp and have fun. So it is part of our culture to be camping. This is nothing new to us.
No.
Yeah. So that is something that maybe is a little bit different than different countries, and so this whole traveling is not a new concept to people here, but we're trying to exercise it a little bit differently. And I think it is definitely, we're growing in that. So I think, it's getting a positive, what you call it, feedback or,
Sure,
yeah.
It's gaining
Yeah,
traction.
exactly. It is gaining a lot of traction, absolutely.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Do you have international clients that come through here, or is it mostly
Yeah.
Saudi clients?
So we do. We have so locally we have expats, we have Saudis. These are typically 90% of our customers, or a little bit more than that. And then we've got people that are traveling from outside of the country. They would come in for like doing a quick inspection, or if they want to ask about something. Typically we do that. Sometimes we would go. We normally don't typically do logistics for vehicles that are coming in and out, with some exceptions, of course. Because it's of course not our business, but we do try to help as much as we can from a traveler's point of view. We look at it as paying it forward, so that when we hopefully travel one day and see it, we'd like to get that type of support when we're going out to unknown countries to us. And it's been great so far. We just keep talking to people about their experiences. I mean, I know you and Rich have been traveling for almost a month now.
Yes.
And it's been great. So
It has been amazing.
yeah.
It's
So
been such an education.
yeah,
I think we didn't realize how much we based our worldview, I think, on Latin
Right.
America,
Yeah.
which is basically a huge part of our travels have encompassed that area.
right.
And so it was so insightful, and I'm so grateful to have had the experience here.
Yeah.
Because it's so different, and overlanding here is different, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Different culture.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as, like you were talking about, getting water
Right.
is completely different
Yeah.
here. And so, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been crazy amazing.
Well, I'm
here.
glad. I'm glad. Yeah, that's things that I think all of us are looking forward to, and on all of our trips.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's great. So that you have that aspect, of course, and then just going back to that water experience, if you would fill up from a well, which we have done multiple times in our journeys, it's really humbling too to have somebody just leave a hose in the middle of the desert, and you're
Yeah.
just filling up water, and it's like you just you trust that there's nothing in the water that could hurt you, and we've had great luck with that. So
Nice.
it's been absolutely amazing. So yeah.
Another question about the shop. So you guys have a pretty big storefront here, and then the shop where I work on the vehicles is
Right.
in the rear. It was really surprising and cool to come through the doors of the shop and see so many brands that we recognize from back home.
Right.
What are the brands that you carry in your shop?
Right. So we distribute for multiple brands that are based in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. So we deal with AEV, Fox Shocks. We're distributors for them. We were distributors for Warren Industries, so we were their sole distributor in the country. We do a lot with Frontrunner, Alucab. We do Kmart out of Australia. We do Maxtrax, of course. So these are some of the companies that we deal with. We deal with Red Arc Systems, so we do a lot of their electrical setup. or setups and or products. And then we've got ARBs, of course. We do a lot of installs on those. And then you've got Baja Design. So we've got a few companies that we're happy to work with. And that choices were not just because we wanted the premium stuff, but we really believe that these type of products would take you out and bring you back. So we typically try to, this is our philosophy when we're trying to, bring products into our store, is just try to find the qualities that would take you to the empty quarter, for example, and bring you back. And we really believe in that. And we have seen throughout the years some of the vehicles that were stranded in the desert because they were what we think we're having premature failures with parts that they've installed that were really expensive, trying to extract the vehicles and get the people, of course, out. So that just kind of pushed us even further to go with premium brands. And I mean, they're great people to work with for sure. So
nice. Yeah, it becomes really important, I think, when you have that high risk factor of heat and
right.
Super remote.
Yeah.
And the desert, and there's nothing around.
Right.
An empty quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, corrugations also. I mean, it really is really hard on cars. I don't know if you've, in your travels here, if you've noticed anything, but if you go to some of these areas, it's really, really rough on vehicles.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like overlanding is basically like this is systematic destruction of your
yeah.
vehicle over time, basically. So
yeah.
I understand that. I think for corrugation, it hasn't been too bad here, but definitely like speed bumps.
Yeah, they're out of the blue. Yeah, okay.
Fortunately, we haven't done anything too bad, but rough rocks. I was really surprised to come across a lot of volcanic areas here.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
So really rough terrain there too.
Yes, there was a road behind an airport in Al Ula, and that road was so rough that I couldn't sustain driving on that road. After taking breaks, just trying to keep checking the truck because I really thought it's just gonna fall apart. And at whatever speed that you're driving on it, you just can't get it to sync with the road, basically. So after I got out of it, I found broken engine mounts. The isolators on the transmission isolator was. So I was driving a Toyota then, so of course I can find parts for it, under anywhere. So I got it fixed, but I mean that there are some places that are really gnarly here, and we do that when we do shocks, tuning, and stuff like that. We take them out there and they heat up really fast. So it's pretty crazy.
Cool.
So yeah.
What are the places in this country that you love the most? And it's just
I have so many of them.
There. I know.
Yeah. So maybe Tabuk would be probably my favorite place in the country, just because it's got rocks. You've got you've got a sea right next to you. You've got desert, and it's full of history and full of ruins and things like that. So it's just interesting to be out there and just wandering around. You don't have to have something specific, and you'll always find something. So I really love that part of the country.
That's in the northwestern
Exactly.
section.
Right.
Are you talking about the province, like the Tabuk?
Yeah, exactly. The whole area. Yeah,
that's what you call it.
Yeah. So Tabuk is a province, and there's also a city.
Correct.
I wouldn't want to spend time in the city. That's just me. I don't like cities, but the province, the whole area. So Saudi has 13 provinces in the country. So Tabuk is going to be northwest. So that area is just beautiful, even in the summer. It doesn't get too hot. So, typically, because of COVID, of course, traveling is really hard. But daytime is going to be a little warm, maybe like in the, degrees centigrade, it's probably like, lower 40s. But at night it drops to 20s. So it's really extreme because it's, of course, a desert. And Riyadh is, of course, even warmer than that. But so you've got that area, and then southwest is also a favorite of mine because it's a lot of it is mountains, and then you've got it's cool year round. The elevations are above, I think, 9,000 or 8,000 feet, So you've got, it's just nice, and then it's very different than the rest of the country. Every time I post stuff on Instagram, people are like, where are you? And what country is this?
Oh, wow.
So it's really, really different. If you go to Faifa, for example, that area or that city or town, it's like so tropical. Like even the trees are very different than the rest of the country. The insects that live there are very different too. So everything is just in that area. It's interesting in terms of the difference that you see from the rest of the place. So Saudi is a very big country. There's so much to see, and it's just different everywhere you go. You go to the sand dunes and like Empty Quarter. It's of course it's endless sand, and you don't see a lot of vegetation for like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. So it's it's a unique experience for sure. If you're into traveling by road or by a vehicle or motorcycle, there's a lot of motorcycles too that are traveling here, and you'll have a great time for sure. So
I thought of it as like overlanding paradise.
Yeah.
Because you could most of the time, wherever you are. I mean, we didn't cover a huge part of the country in our time here, but our experience was that you could pull over or drive for 10 minutes off of a main road and
it's not
find
fenced off
beautiful
places.
campsite, wild camping.
Yeah.
And then there's so much history here and so many beautiful landscapes, and the culture is so warm and welcoming, and oh my gosh, I could go on and on, but it really blew my mind as to the holistic sense of the things that we like looking for in a destination, and it ticked all the boxes off, which was amazing.
And fuel is cheap.
Fuel is cheap. Good point.
So
nice.
it's great. I mean, right now as we speak, it's snowing in Tabuk right now. And it wasn't, I mean, in recent years it started to become something like normal.
Yes.
But they got a lot of snow over there. So if you were in Tabuk, you would also experience snow right now, and it's snowing on sand dunes. So for us here, it's just like wow, it's really crazy. But it's it's definitely very different. I think a lot from like Western point of view, you would enjoy the culture a lot. It's especially if you get to actually meet the locals.
Yes.
Saudis are not scary. This is my, not because I'm,
I think that's important though, because as Westerners, we're fed this kind of narrative about what this world is like.
Well, I mean, part of it also was that the country was, it wasn't open for tourism, let's say.
Sure.
So that was also part of why there was so much unknown. But that also brings in a different layer of, exploring. So there's a lot of, so what they did here, there's a lot of things. So they changed the way that the country is accepting foreigners. So there's tourism now that's open. Business is easier. A lot of things they're changing here that are, helping the country get better understood and understand the culture. And I've traveled to a lot of places around the world, and, personally, not because, I have, of course, some of me, like, I understand the culture too well, so I understand what is happening. But if I was to kind of try to remove myself from that and look at it, it's really, really beautiful because it's centric to family, it's centric to, people, and, so if you like that, and I think these type of values are shared around the world, I think you will really enjoy traveling here. People will go out of their way to help you. So if you'd have a flat tire, there was one Swiss couple that were here during COVID. They had a spare, their second spare tire blew on their way, and they were telling us that somebody gave them their wheel, and they gave us his phone number so that when we can ship it back to them just to get them to go. So I don't know if I can get that type of treatment in other parts of the world. I'm sure, of course, there's generosity is everywhere, but it's just normal for that to be seen here. You go to Hail, for example, and people there, their homes are open 24 hours. The country is very safe. So you'd go into a house there, they'd invite you, and then you'd have lunch, and then their neighbor would invite you for dinner. And all of a sudden you can't leave because everybody's just inviting you to the next house over, and they'd love to, learn about you and your experiences and stuff like that.
Yes.
So if you're on a tight schedule, don't go to Hayl, basically. So,
If you have a
yeah.
tight schedule, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Totally.
And special thanks to Equipped for supporting today's podcast. More than 15 years ago, Equipped Expedition Outfitters became the first American company to import the best-in-breed vehicle expedition equipment from across the globe. Since their humble beginnings, they have risen to become a go-to leader within the adventure travel industry, continuing to deliver a diverse portfolio of reliable, long-lasting products backed by unparalleled customer service. From shelter solutions from Easy On to portable fridges from National Luna to aluminum storage boxes from Alubox, their ever-growing selection of best-in-class gear increases your capability, comfort, and confidence during any adventure. Visit equippedone.com to gear up.
So yeah, I mean it's I think there's a lot of things that like you were mentioning that are misinterpreted or not really. Some of it is of course political, but as you are seeing right now, and hopefully others that would travel here, they would see it's very different than what the media is pushing out. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of changes are happening here, like you were saying, with
Right.
women
Yeah.
being able to drive.
Of
and
course.
They've got the 2030 project
Yes.
happening,
Yep.
and huge events like Formula One, Formula
Right.
E, the Dakar, and I also noticed like concerts and festivals.
Oh yeah. I mean,
all
we
that
didn't
stuff
talk about
going
that
on.
stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, so everywhere you look at, there's things. So if you're into art or opera, they have the biggest operas happening right now.
Like, and
it's-
Andrea Bocelli is
Yeah.
playing in the, what's it called, Mariah?
Yeah, the Mariah building, yes, and
Yeah.
Al Ula, yes.
Which is near, like...
The
Luai
Hijr, yeah, Al
Alsheheli,
Hijr, Al Ula, yes.
It's I don't know how to explain this building. Like, it's all glass on the outside.
Right.
It's
Like mirrors.
What's on the inside? Is it a concert hall?
It is a hall. It's a really big hall that they have on the inside. And then, so you've got that. But at the same time, so if you're into motorsports, you've got the Formula One, you've got Dakar. They're the biggest things that are in motorsports. And then you move into, art galleries and things like that. And they just bring the best of the best. And they're just opening up. So huge competition with our neighbors in UAE and Dubai and all that.
Yes.
So we see a lot of license plates coming in from different countries. It's really cool. But yeah, I mean they're opening everything. You're into yachts and boats and stuff like that. They have a big thing happening right now on the Red Sea for that.
Oh, wow.
So scuba diving too. They have like
Oh, yeah.
big clubs that are now in Saudi instead of Egypt for diving and stuff like that. So just whatever you're into, there's something happening and something big they're doing about it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's interesting.
What's the winter festival? Is it Riyadh season?
Right.
I've been reading about that as well, which is like a bunch of events and
Right.
things during
Yeah.
their winter time here.
So they have like the Saudi seasons. So each, let's say a few months, they move it. So right now it's Riyadh season, but then there is like Jeddah, I think, is it Jeddah season? Yeah, Jeddah season. Then you've got all these different things that they're doing. And then typically you'll see like, concerts and things like that are happening in each city. And they just bring, different stuff and different activities for that.
I saw, it's like I used to be a figure skater, and so obviously I was drawn to this immediately, but there is like almost a Cirque du Soleil, but like figure skating,
Yeah.
carnival type show thing.
I'm sure
happening.
they've had something like that. I mean, the things that they're doing is just crazy. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you've got that. And of course, for us, I mean, going back to traveling and all that, I mean, I don't know if you've tried local food, but
Yes.
it's very different than Western food. I'm sure you've seen.
The coffee culture here
is very also different.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we love coffee, but we've never had the experience where somebody has like driven up, like a family has driven
Yeah.
up with their car, and the lovely
Yeah.
woman like brings up this big teapot, and
Yeah.
they all carry these like
Yeah.
little mini paper cups.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's
You
the
could-
coffee, which is
Yeah.
delicious.
Right.
So that's cool. But then you've got like traditional tea houses in Jeddah that
Mhm.
we visited, which were a different experience from like the more modern ones
Right.
that are really cool inside. Like
Yeah.
beautiful decoration and architecture and delicious coffee. So we really enjoyed that part too.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, even like going to like cappuccinos and things like that. They're really the Saudis love their coffee. They love their tea, and they take it extremely seriously.
Yeah.
So, so if you want the best food, I think you'll find it here.
For sure.
If you go to like in Riyadh, where we are right now, I tell my friends in the U.S. that if you want the best burger, come to Saudi for it. American burger. I mean, just because of like all the restaurants, and everybody just takes it very seriously about the taste and everything, and they want to make sure. So yeah, it's pretty cool when it comes to that. Yeah.
What would you make at home? Like what are the
Like the food?
Saudis eating at home? I mean,
Everything.
I've got a little bit of a taste of it.
Yeah. So like
there.
it typically just depends on what they like. You can have like like kebsas, for example, are like really big here. Like there's other foods like jarish, garsan, margouk, these type of foods. They're like local. Maybe we'll try some tonight if you guys would like.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean that's typically what you see. And then of course everybody's getting shawarmas and they're getting like their burgers and everything like that. So
yeah, it's a
and
big
steaks.
range
Yeah.
I've seen, and especially the influences from, let's say, Syria, Lebanon,
Right.
like the hummus and
Yeah.
labna and flatbread
Yep.
and beans
Right.
and delicious things like that. But yeah, it's this big range here,
Yeah.
which is
The-
cool.
Yeah, we've got a Vietnamese restaurant right next to us. It's the only one actually, right next to like the rent-a-car across the street here. But yeah, that's the only one. So everybody comes in for that,
Nice.
So, but it's, I mean, we've got pretty much the range of food is, I mean, and then that's also changes from region to region. So we're in Riyadh.
Yes.
Some items you'd find them here. I mean, typically you'll find everything here. You go to like south or east or west, and typically they'll have something that is more common in their area than it would be like for here.
Right.
Problem with cities, and I think this is global, it's a melting pot. So everybody, is having everything at anytime. So it's a little bit,
fun going through, like a lot of the gas stations or fuel stations will have a little coffee
Yeah.
drive-through.
I don't like those, but yeah.
You don't like
I
those?
don't like
Oh,
those, yeah.
We were like doing it all the time.
Really? Okay.
Because we've always wanted it to your
Yeah.
coffee.
It just tastes like milk all the time. That's just, what I think, but
But I
Yeah.
loved the Arabic coffee, which I've never had it.
Oh,
ever,
okay.
And
Okay.
it's really different. 'Cause
Yeah.
They use is it different preparation for the bean or?
Maybe they're using because these type of stores normally they have something that's like a quick ready-made, or they're sold in small bags. They just put it with water. You can get them at like grocery stores.
But the lady, so there were a few ladies that shared tea with me. That was like the Arabic coffee.
Okay.
Not tea, the Arabic
Coffee, right,
from
yeah.
Inside their car.
Yeah.
And I was expecting like coffee colored, but it was actually more of like this yellow creamy color.
Yeah, it is that. It just depends. So it's just like just like coffee beans that we'd get at like a specialty coffee shop or something like that.
Yeah.
You can just change it up and it would give you like different colors and that. I wouldn't know what you actually had, but I mean it is typically you can go with the ready stuff. Some of it is really good too. But like if you're trying to get like a latte or something like that,
Yeah.
then I would maybe not want to go to these.
drive-thrus.
That's just me. But others, one of my friends, he wouldn't miss a one. So
Maybe
yeah,
it was because we were like out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, and you're just like, oh, coffee shop. Yeah, yeah.
Coffee drive-thru. This is
Yeah.
wild. We're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's fun. Yeah, we could literally have like an Overland Journal food podcast and
Right.
talk about food forever.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Or
Yeah,
I could.
yeah. There's a lot of good stuff here. Well, hopefully tonight we'll try some.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
Great. The other thing that I thought was really amazing here was like all the different vehicles
Right.
that we don't really see back home.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, so many of those Land Cruisers everywhere, and it's such a fun.
So as far as vehicles go, so we still get the Nissan Y61s.
Okay.
So those have, I believe they've been discontinued in Australia for I think a few years now. They're still in production for Middle Eastern market. So we get the 4.8 VTC motor. That's a gasoline engine, and we still get the FJ Cruiser. That's
so many of
yeah,
them. I'm so surprised.
yeah. They're still made brand new from Toyota for this market.
Gotcha.
So the distributor for Toyota in this market has a really strong grip on the brand. So we believe that they have a huge influence also on the manufacturer. So they typically would get these vehicles in this market, but they're not a complete build. So they'd come in and they'd add their accessories to them. So they've been doing a great job with some of the vehicles and terrible job with others. So yeah, but like for example, like compressors, they'd add them from the dealership, and they work really well. Some of them do. So these are tons, and then of course keeping the FJ running. They're just really in high demand. We have not stopped this, or 2021 has been an FJ year for us.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy how many we've seen in the shop. Yeah, it's I mean, they come in brand new. They come with lockers, of course. And then, of course, you go look at other vehicles, like the 70 series is still in production. We're still getting those. We just started getting the 1VD motor, so that would be like the V8 turbo engine. So that's coming into this market. But yeah, so those are coming in, and people are now starting to look at them outside of agricultural, and they want to build them up for overlanding and having fun. Or someone like me who wants to make a rock crawler out of it. So, so yeah, that's typically what we would see. And then you've got some of the people that would have like vans that are like two-wheel drive.
Okay.
So these type of vehicles are interesting because you, of course, can't take them too far. But yeah, they would use that. So I guess you can use whatever you got and work with it. So it's cool. Yeah.
So you have a variety of vehicles.
I do.
How many?
I
Can
don't
you
know.
say? Oh,
I
you
don't know. I really don't know. Maybe yeah. I've got a few. I mean, some of you who may know me as a Jeep person, and of course, as I moved back and starting using them, it's been hard to keep them running for or maintaining them and doing all that. So I started getting into Toyotas, and because of their global support, I've had a great experience working with them. And then of course, as you start to wrench on them and understand them more, you develop an understanding of why they're built like that, and who's the customer for these type of vehicles. And so I've got a lot of Land Cruisers. I've got Troopies, that 73 that we just looked at. I've got the 60 that I drive everywhere. So these are the type of vehicles that, typically I use, that 105. I love driving that thing. It's just so comfortable.
Nice.
I have an 80 series. Yeah, I mean, this is what comes. I have a Mercedes G-Wagon. It's a 460.
Oh, nice.
It's a two-door, so it's like the short wheelbase one with a hardtop. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a few of these, but I typically buy older vehicles just because I think they're more fun to work with. They have more character.
Yes.
And they smell funny sometimes. So it's cool to fix them up and enjoy the process. That's typically what I like to drive. That 60 specifically, I have a lot of kilometers on that thing. I've been almost to the border with Yemen.
Okay.
I almost got. I had a really big problem there in that vehicle. So it's been everywhere with me. I don't think I'll ever sell it. But everything else is for sale. So I'm just kidding. Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, it used to be a gasoline motor, and I put a diesel in it, and I use it for like 3-4 weeks. I'm planning to ship it to Africa and hopefully do a trip there with it.
Nice.
So yeah, that would be a lot of fun. So yeah.
What does vehicle shipping look like here? Like, where are people shipping to the most? I guess like Africa is close, but
right. It's not really. Okay, so a lot of Saudis will ship their vehicles to Africa, but through from Jeddah to Sudan, so Port Said. So they'd ship them there. It takes like 2 or 3 days on the ferry, or the boats, and then they'll get there, and then they'll go for hunting trips.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they'll ship them better. So they're completely stock vehicles. Normally they'll have guides with them over there that'll help them. It's kind of like a tourist thing. But they're not using these vehicles in the sense that we're using them to live out of, or travel the world with, or
Sure.
So that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But then you've got a lot of Saudis are shipping their vehicles to Europe. You're seeing a lot of them in North America. Like if you go to LA or like New York or any of these hot touristy areas, you'll see a lot of Saudi cars there. But they're typically like, like rich, like Lamborghinis and Ferraris, these type of vehicles that be used in these type of areas. But then I think now people are starting to see, okay, what if, I've already seen Saudi, I'd like to go even further. So we're starting to see people go to like neighboring countries. They'll go to Jordan, Oman. You got UAE, of course. So you're starting to see a lot of that. But because of their size and what Saudi has to offer, normally it's not enough. They'd like to see more.
Sure.
So we have people now planning to do like, this Mombasa trip that we were talking about earlier to Kenya. And then we've got people going to Namibia next year too. So we're going to be starting building these vehicles up here shortly. So we've got 270 series Land Cruisers for that, and yeah, that's typically what we have. Hopefully, with with social media and everything, and everybody's trying to travel, I think there's going to be a lot more people doing it than just a handful of people. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. We haven't seen. I think we saw 2 overlanders from, I think it was, one was a Swiss couple that I also interviewed in another podcast episode. And then there was another European couple, I believe. We just saw their plates, but we didn't see anybody else. But I think because of the route to get here from Europe is a bit tricky in some parts.
It's hard, yeah. I mean, especially with Syria and what's happening. And that it used to be, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I remember seeing a lot of, European license plates that are just trying to make their way to go to like, let's say India or something like that. Or they just want to go to UAE, for example, or Oman.
Yeah.
So that, of course, with all the issues that are happening north of us, that's kind of making it a little more difficult. So my dad is a motorcyclist, and what he's done in the past, he would ship his motorcycle from Yenbor. So that's like on the Red Sea, and then they would ship them like to like Greece, or they'd ship them to like Turkey or something like that, and they'll continue their journey. So they've been as far as to Switzerland, but they're mostly on roads.
Yes.
So I don't know if they'd call them like overlanders, but they're just enjoying their their ride to go to Switzerland, and then they'll just stay there for a few weeks and ship them back.
Nice.
So yeah, it's but it's definitely challenging trying to do the drive. It's definitely challenging to do that right now.
Yeah,
so
sure.
yeah.
Have you seen any changes or challenges since more tourists have been allowed to come in Saudi, or do you think it's been mostly positive?
It is definitely 99% positive.
Yeah.
This is what we've been hearing. I'm sure that some people have had some issues at some point.
Sure.
It could, I mean, it happens everywhere. But from my perspective, I would love to leave everything as is, just so that, us who like to travel and see things the way they are would appreciate it more without having fences and things like that.
Because the changes are coming.
They are.
Increased.
Right. And especially Tabuk is because that's now Neom. So there's a huge city that's being built there. You've got the Line, which is another city that's going to be built without any streets. So that whole city is going to be buildings on one line. So it's a crazy concept. You can check out videos of it on YouTube or what they're planning to do with it. But
we did see a lot of
construction and stuff.
For
Yeah.
Neom when we were into that area. Like a huge amount. We were shocked at the just vastness.
Like what's going on, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we traveled there. First time for me to go there was like 2011 or 2012, I think. Mm-hmm. There was nothing there. And it was just so nice because, even me traveling there as a local, people are like, what are you doing here? You're not, they know that they don't recognize this type of vehicle to be there. So it was really nice. And I would encourage anybody who wants to travel here to make that maybe one of their first priorities, to go and check out that area before the full development happens. Of course, that's going to be amazing from having big cities and everything. But if you want to see deserts, that would be the perfect place to start.
For sure.
Especially the beaches and all that is just so pretty over there.
Yes.
So yeah, it's great. And then the mountains that are in that region, I think as more people start to live out there, you're going to be starting to see more traffic, and you're going to start seeing more people that are traveling. We were already running into people that are doing basically what we want to do. So if you wanted that isolation, I think you can still do it for the next few years, but then after that, it's just going to be really busy.
Yeah,
so,
the change is coming.
Absolutely.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and besides that, I mean, of course, you go south. You can go, some places near Riyadh that are really nice. We go. Some of my friends were into rock crawling, so the nearest place that we'd go to is like 15 minutes away from here. Yeah, and we're like in the middle of the city, but it's in a valley, exactly. Yeah, so it's just. But that area now is going to be a new project, which is called the Giordano project. So that project is going to be like a complete entertainment. So Six Flags is coming. They've got like really. I don't know if Disney or one other big, entertainment company is going to be there too. Formula One is going to have a course there as well. So they're doing really, big things in that area. So my rock crawling trail is unfortunately going to be gone, but but there's a lot of things that are, they're bringing into the country. So yeah, it's fun. So yeah.
There's a question that I ask everybody, and it is, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Oh, okay.
It's tricky.
Maybe I'd love to go to Namibia.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. I've never been there, but I've seen a lot of videos, and it's just so interesting to me. I love deserts. I love mountains, and I haven't seen mountains in Namibia, but I think that there's like this. It just never escapes my mind that dunes that are on like the ocean side. I think it's on the western side.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like it's so beautiful. I'd love to go there one day and drive on that coast. It would be really nice. I don't know if I can climb up the dunes from the other side, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. So I'd love to see that. And yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned Scott Brady and how he's influenced, I don't know if you didn't say influence, but you've looked at what he posts and what he thinks. And
he has been an influence, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so I've known Scott for 10 years.
I was going to ask you about that because I was wondering, the audience might not know that you guys know each other.
Yeah, so when I was in the U.S., my final trip before I moved out of the country, I went west, and I used to live in Colorado. And actually how I got to Colorado was through one of my friends. His mom was from there. And when we were here trying to decide what college to go to, she said, she knew that I was into Jeeps, so she said, if you like Jeeps, there's a lot of trails in Colorado. That immediately sold me to go to Colorado. So that's actually how I picked Colorado. And thankfully, I met a lot of great people over there, and it's just so beautiful. Right now, I hear it's like crazy overpopulated with new people over there, but my experience was great. So anyway, I went west for my last trip. And I don't know if I would call it overlanding. I mean, to me, it's just, I'm just driving, having a great time, and it's just this trip that I'm doing. And I knew Scott was I think he was in Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stop by and say hi, and I wanted to see their setup.
How did you know that he existed?
Well, that was through Expedition Portal, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was in 2010 or something like that. So
Gotcha.
I drove there. I think we were texting or messaging on Facebook, and then we met at his office, and then we met Adventure Trailers AT Overland over there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my axle seals was leaking, so we ended up having to fix it there. So the guys there were totally awesome with Mario and his team, and we fixed it up, and we spent some time with Scott. We actually drove a J8 that he had. That was a right-hand drive, so that was an experience that I didn't drive a Land Cruiser or any vehicle that was a right-hand drive before that. So that was my first experience, and it was in a military Jeep, so it was pretty cool. So that was fun. We spent that afternoon together. We went for dinner, I believe, and then the next day we fixed the Jeep, and I got on my way. And we've been friends ever since. I mean, we've been, talking, about a Saudi trip that would one day happen. So we tried to apply for a visa. This was before this tourist thing that was opened up. So hopefully now we can get him to come out here.
Yes.
So
Scott,
yeah,
you gotta come here.
yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean that's kind of what how we met.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that connection because Scott introduced us, and
Yeah, that's right.
now we're here.
Now we're here. Exactly. How crazy is that? Yeah, that's pretty
I
cool.
know, it is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Well, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
on the
thank you for
podcast.
stopping by. Appreciate it.
It's great. It's such a valuable insight to the world of off-roading and overlanding on
Right.
the total opposite side of the world.
Yeah.
If people are interested in checking out the shop or anything to do with you,
Yeah.
where should they find you?
So I'm on Instagram as Luai 4-Wheel Drive, so it's 4WD, and then our business is on Instagram as 4-Wheel Station. It's the number 4. So that's us, and yeah, reach out to us if you want to travel and come and check out Saudi. We'd love to have you. Just don't bring COVID with you, please. But just kidding. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean that's where you'll find us. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you next time.
Thank you. Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.